start the recording now. We are going to be recording this so that those who do not have a chance to attend during the time we present this, whether they live on the West Coast or in the mid of the country, or they're working and they just can't get away, they still have a chance to see this. And if any of you want to go back and review any of the information, because we always give so much information in these webinars, you will have access to it as well. The handout section contains your certificate of completion. I get questions all the time, do I need the certificate of completion? If creating an educational portfolio or file, it is a valuable tool to have in there, that when it comes down to telling, showing your employer or prospective employer or your employer what you've done to better yourself, it's a great thing to have a certificate of completion. Some of you may need it if your boss is giving you time off to watch this webinar, so you may need it for that. If, however, you can't access the handout section, you can certainly wait. In about an hour, you're going to get an email from us that will contain a link to the completion certificate. It will not be a live link. You'll have to copy and paste that link into your browser to make it work. And in that email, you'll also get information to go, or a little link to go to a survey that will give us valuable feedback on what you found most useful, what could have been improved with this or any of the items you're watching today. We have one more webinar after this one. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's called Soft Skills, the skills you need to succeed. I will be at that one as well with my supervisor, Nancy Moretti, the head of the Gen Ed and Elementary Ed section of our Penn Foster. She is a business owner. She has done she's been on lots of interviews, and she has performed lots of interviews, so she has a lot of information for all of you as well. We're going to be starting in about 5 more minutes. I see that we have about 16 people here now. I believe we have about 60 signed up. So within the next few minutes, we'll see that number start to rise. And even for a minute or so after we start, we will see the numbers rise. We're going to ask that you hold your questions. Well, you can type your questions in at any given time, but I'm not going to ask the presenters the questions so that we can stay on task until the end. So if while they're on a certain slide you have a question that you want to ask, please feel free to type it in. I will do my best in the time we have at the end of the presentation to go back and scroll through all of the questions and make sure the presenters get them. This week has been extremely a great eye-opener for me. We have so many talented people here at Penn Foster that I don't usually get to interact with in my little world of education. And it's been so interesting to get all of these different insights into the different aspects of how we can help you better. And that's what my job is, to get you through your courses. All the other people that work here have so many other duties and so many other talents that have been very helpful about developing a cover letter, how to dress and look professional when you go to an interview, what your body language says about you while you're working with your coworkers or during that interview, or maybe even with your significant other. We had so many of these great ones. We also had some basic computer skills that we had. How to be successful in the online student. That'll be up on YouTube. Job searching, how to ace your course, and be passionate about your choices in your career if possible. So that's, everybody wants to be passionate. You give so much more of yourself and are so much more successful when you truly love what you're doing. I'm going to get ready to turn this over. I am your host, Dr. Sherry Petrikowski. I have been employed at Penn Foster now since about 2004. I came on part-time as an English instructor And then in 2007, I was hired full-time. My background is I have 2 bachelor's degrees, one in elementary education and psychology. And after about 10 years after I graduated from that degree, after starting my family, I went back and earned my master's degree in English because the place where I was working said, we need an English teacher. It's going to be you. Go back to school, get your degree. So that's how I got my master's degree. They also helped pay for it, which was really excellent. But I found over the years it really wasn't my passion. I wanted to return back to psychology, which right from the very beginning was my passion. Even though I'm an educator, I've always felt that when I read students' papers or I'm working with students, what they're saying is sometimes, well, is always more important than exactly how it looks on the paper sometimes. So I went back in 2010, well, actually, yeah, 2010, and I started to get my doctorate degree, which I finished in 2014. And that's where I am. I believe in lifelong learning. I'm always learning. In fact, right now I'm taking my newest and greatest role. My daughter just had a baby, and we are learning to be grandparents, my husband and I. So at this point in time, I'm actually going to turn over control, and we can start the program with Melissa and Ann. And the thing that we want to remember again is that you do not have to worry if you missed anything or they're going, it's a little fast because this is going to be recorded and we will answer your questions at the end. Okay, Ann, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, so I'm Ann Fox and welcome to our webinar, and I need to open up the PowerPoint. Give me 1 second. So Melissa is actually going to start speaking, but I'm Ann Fox and I'm a Senior Content Manager here at Penn Foster, and I'm really excited to be presenting this to you today.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Miller and I'm new here at Penn Foster. Just recently graduated from Bloomsburg University with my master's degree in instructional technology, and I'm really excited about sharing this webinar with you here today. So we like to have fun here at Penn Foster, and so we wanted to start with something that is fun and contains some of the key aspects of our presentation. So this video will show you what the interviewer may possibly hear you say versus what you're actually saying. So we're just going to take a few minutes to watch this video.
We cannot hear it.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm wondering why.
We should have played with that a little bit more before we started. Maybe, now Ann, did you put in those earbuds? Maybe that's why. Or can't you hear it either?
I can't hear it.
Well, that's not good. Let me see if I can take control. Give me a second here. Now, see, I don't even have access to the beginnings of how to, where the link is to open it. So I am going to, how about we try Melissa? Melissa, do you want to try?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, it's going over to you, Melissa. I apologize. This is the point of doing these things live, that we have glitches.
The what?
This is the fun thing of doing these things live, these little ticks in the road.
Yeah.
They got to see all your files too. That was interesting.
That was fun.
The other day I turned on, and I didn't even realize I had turned on my screen until somebody told me. You're scrolling through your email.
Learning curve. Here we go. Okay, so it's not letting me have access either. Why is... Oh, there it is. Oh, it takes a second. Okay. Hopefully it plays.
Unmute that.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
I'm really excited. Daughter's blog, which is allergy, so I got these that what you like. I'm a crazy stalker. Don't let me into your life.
I'm sorry. I didn't bring any copies of my resume with me. I actually care so little about this job. I didn't even bother to print something out.
Sorry I'm late to traffic. I just care about your time.
You really didn't know how to take advantage of my skills. I have no skills.
My old boss, Tim, you know, I love Tim to death. We didn't really get social media, but I love that. I'm super passive aggressive, and I'll talk behind your back the first chance I get. My biggest flaw is that I'm a perfectionist. My biggest flaw is that I'm an asshole liar. Well, I'm not good at public speaking, or delegating, or working in Excel, or interviewing for jobs, obviously.
I really don't have any flaws. Yeah, I'm going to be a lot of fun to manage.
What will I be in 5 years? Your job. Just kidding. I'm not kidding. Watch your ass. I want to invent the next Uber. I want to use your office to start my own company. Yeah, and then I'm going to steal all your employees, even Brenda.
I mean, honestly, I just really love to get away from the grind in this business setting. Like, maybe I'll move to Europe or Africa or Asia or open up that store, something like that. I get high a lot.
What kind of medical insurance do you provide? I have cholera and I want you to pay for it.
What's your vacation policy like? I can't wait to not be at my new job.
Do you think I'll get an office? I want all the things I don't deserve. I'm expecting a call. Yeah, so many more things in the world more important than this. Yeah, it's going great. I don't know, I think I get it. I really want this job. I'm the most desperate person you've ever met, and I'm like 5 seconds away from grabbing your hand. I'm a team player, and I'm a people person. All I have to offer you are cliches.
I'm not really looking right now, but I would consider taking it if the price is right. Yeah, I'm going to start looking for a job from my desk. You know anyone, actually?
So I hope everyone found that video about as humorous as I found it. It's interesting. I wonder sometimes what people are actually thinking versus what you're saying. So today we're going to talk you through all of the phases you will go through when interviewing for a position. So the information shared with you today will apply whether you're applying at McDonald's or Pep Boys, a place like Amazon, or even in a professional office setting. The phases we'll be covering today will include your preparing for the interview, just prior to leaving for your interview, arriving at the interview site, the interview itself, leaving the interview, and then follow up after the interview is over. So our goal today is to help you to put your best self forward when you're out there interviewing. During this section, I'm going to cover communication, documentation, research, grooming, and practicing. So for our communication, you're going to want to think about the communication end of it. Have you ever heard the saying communication is key to being successful? Well, it is one of the keys to success, so be sure that you have as many points of contact, such as emails, phone numbers, names, as you can in case you have questions before, on the way to, or even after the interview. Ask questions about the following. Parking. Is there parking on site? Is it paid parking? How close to the building is the parking? So think about your travel time. Check your GPS, but also ask if they're familiar with the area and where you're coming from, so maybe they might be able to have some insight on traffic and time travel. What is traffic like during set hours of your interview if you're going into a city? Another thing to think about is, will you need other travel arrangements other than just your car? Will you have to get on a bus or a subway? Ask if there will be more than one person at the interview interviewing you. Also, you want to ask, should I prepare to present anything? If so, what format should that be in? Should it be in PowerPoint? You can ask what question they are going to, you can ask what questions they might ask you during the interview process. In most cases, they probably won't tell you, but it doesn't hurt to ask. First of all, check all your documentation. Make sure to have extra copies of your up-to-date resumes and references with you. You should always have one to give to the interviewer. Now, I know that they may have a copy, but it's professional of you to give them one, because one, it makes you look prepared and organized, and two, they may have an out-of-date one, and you want to make sure they have an up-to-date resume. In some cases, you have a portfolio or a presentation to share during the interview, so make sure you have a way to share that with them. This is another good reason why you would want to ask questions ahead of time, like I previously mentioned. You were unable to get a direct answer, bring all you have, a laptop, tablet, just in case, so you have something to share. This goes without saying. Make sure they are all formatted and reviewed before you use them. Try not to make any last-minute changes the day of the interview unless absolutely necessary. And the reason for this is because we all make mistakes, like spelling mistakes, especially when we're in a hurry. Research, research, research. When researching and making your travel plans, consider creating a travel timeline that includes any known traffic issues from previously asked questions, the time you're getting from your directions on your GPS, whether you're using Google Maps or your GPS, the parking situation, or any additional modes of transportation you may need to take. Then research your company that you're going to go have an interview with. Learn about the company using as many resources as you can. Use the company website, any friends, social media, such as LinkedIn, or business review sites such as Glassdoor, which is where employees, present and past, have posted their thoughts about the company and the people they work with, and any current news or articles. Sometimes people you are interviewing with will have a bio on the company website. Reading the bio will help you get to know your interviewer a little bit better before the interview, which will help you be less nervous and help you find a point that you might be able to relate to. Review the company's values and mission statement to help you tailor your responses to their questions with what they are looking for. As a side note, while you are doing your research, be sure to make a list of questions you would like to ask during the interview. And then lastly, research the job position. Read over the job description to help you tailor your responses to your questions during the interview, as well as help you to anticipate some types of the questions that you might be asked during the interview. Grooming. Keep your look basic and conservative. I will be showing you some examples in some future slides here. Grooming and apparel. Plan out your outfit and hairstyle ahead of time. So for men, your hair. Be sure to have neatly trimmed hair. You do not want an unkempt bedhead look. If you have long hair, that's okay. Just make sure that it's combed neatly and tied back. And if you have any facial hair, make sure that it's either trimmed or shaved off completely. Apparel for men, wear the appropriate attire. If you are dressing for an interview at a place like McDonald's, you may not need a full suit look, but you should dress business casual. You should have on some khakis, either a nice button-down shirt with a t-shirt underneath, or a tank top underneath, and then or a nice polo. Wear nice dress shoes, no sneakers or crazy patterns or colors. If you are dressing for a professional interview where a suit is appropriate, be sure to have a freshly pressed suit. A nice shirt and tie. Again, no crazy colors or patterns. I know that it be challenging sometimes because they have some pretty awesome, pretty crazy looking ties out there nowadays. I know personally I like the Jerry Garcia ones. However, we want to avoid those and try and stay on the conservative side during the interview process. Wear dress socks, not the athletic socks, and wear nice dress shoes. No sneakers. For women, your hair. Make sure your hair is styled and pulled away from your face. You do not want your hair or anything hanging in your face. Do not add big bows or glittery pieces to your hair. Women apparel. If you are dressing for an interview, again, like at McDonald's, you will wear business casual, dress pants or khakis, a nice blouse, nice dress shoes, no sneakers, and no loud colors and patterns. And if you're dressing professional, wear a suit. Be sure that it's freshly pressed, nice button-down blouse, dress shoes, and socks. Nails for ladies and men. So for men, you know, make sure they're clean and manicured and you don't have a lot of dirt and grease stains if possible. And ladies, be conservative when painting your nails. I know that the fancy nails are fun, but like I said before, best practice is to stay on the conservative side and just go with a nice conservative color. Makeup for the ladies, make sure that your colors are complementary to your suit or your outfit. Use conservative colors and styling. This means no glitter and wild colors. Jewelry. Men and women both need to think simple and conservative when picking out their accessories. Do not want to use big pieces or a lot of pieces of jewelry. You do not need to put on your entire collection. Just stick with one or two simple pieces. And perfume and cologne. I would have to just say the best practice is not to wear any, if possible. Just wear your deodorant. You don't know who is allergic to what, and you definitely don't want to go into an interview and make somebody uncomfortable, and all they can do is think about how fast they can get away from you because your perfume is causing an allergy reaction. So now let's just take a moment here. I want you to look at all of these examples of hairstyles and maybe think about which one doesn't belong. So I'm just going to give you a second to do that. So if you chose the first one to the left, you would be correct, and the reason for that is there's a big bow, and like I said previously, conservative is best practice. Makeup styles. Take a moment to take a look at each one of these and think which one you could possibly say doesn't belong. If you chose the middle one, you would be correct, and the reason for this, or I'm sorry, which one did belong, I apologize. And it's because it's conservative and laid back instead of like this crazy pink color going on over here to the left or the teal to the right. Nails. Now take a moment and look at each example and see which one doesn't belong. If you chose the one to the far right, you would be correct. And the reason for this is even though the nails are pretty and not too over the top as far as decoration goes, but like I said before, best practice is to lean towards the more conservative side during the interview. We don't want your nails distracting from what your responses are during your interview. And jewelry, just take a moment to say to yourself which one might belong, which one would be a good choice of jewelry to wear. And if you chose the middle one, you would be correct. The necklace on the left is too big, and you want to keep it simple. And the rings on the left, well, there's just too many of them. One or two is conservative and appropriate. Now taking a look at these examples of what to wear and what not to wear. The two on the left would be a good example of what a man and a woman should wear for a professional look versus the two on the right. Now I'm just going to take a moment to show you a quick clip of to wrap up this good versus bad on what to wear and what not to wear.
Most interviews, no matter what the industry, are designed to assess a few key areas: professionalism, interest in the job being offered, for the job, including applicable skills, and personality. Here are some tips on the do's and don'ts of interviewing. Do be sure to dress appropriately for your interview. If you're a man, wear a suit. You can never go wrong with navy blue, charcoal gray, a white shirt, and a nice tie.
If you are a woman, make sure you wear a suit to interview. Either a skirt suit or a pantsuit is fine. Don't wear large jewelry, loud colors, or too much makeup. Don't give a limp handshake.
Uh-oh. Lost it.
There we go. Okay. Before you practice or even interview, spend some time thinking about your career chronology, which is like your timeline or your past career history. Reflect on it, and your past experiences will bring up memories so that they can then be applied as answers and examples during your interview. So what if you need to stall or gather your thoughts during the interview? What do? Well, there's 2 tricks that you could use during the interview process to help get through that. So number 1 is repeat the question that's been asked thoughtfully before answering. Or say slowly, "Now that is a great question. I think I would have to say." So those few words would give you a second to get what you want to say out then. Be aware of your body language, which Anne will be discussing momentarily in more detail. And it is best to practice with someone who can sit down with you and act this interview out in a serious manner. Be sure to write down the questions and give them to the person practicing with you. Be sure to start with some of the most commonly asked questions, which you can really find that out very easily as to what the most common interview questions are. And maybe some of these possible anticipated questions you may have noted when you were doing your research. If you do not have anyone to practice with, then use a mirror or record yourself. This way you can see yourself, your body language, and how you sound and respond. It's important to keep in mind that the night before, and I know this goes without saying, but plan to get some sleep, at least 8 hours, and no going out the night before to go to a party or hang out with the friends at the club. And do not eat anything strong for breakfast, like onion bagels. And just prior to the day of the interview, just prior to leaving the house, you're going to want to double check the following things: the weather, in case you need an umbrella or a shovel, meaning you need to get up a little early to clean that car off; the number of copies of documents you are taking, such as your resume or your references. Make sure you have the address typed into the GPS correctly, and have the correct printed or the correct printed directions. Check that you have all your forms of communication ready and accessible in case there's a problem before you arrive to the interview. Be sure to do this early enough just in case you need to address any of these issues. And like I discussed before, create an interview checklist that you use to put all this information together and use it to double check the day of. When getting ready the day of the interview, just remember what all we covered previously. Use good judgment. Not all interviews will call for a suit and tie, but be reasonable, be professional about how you dress, and at least go business casual. Do not wait the day of to pick out what you're wearing or how you're doing your hair. So now I'm going to turn it over to Anne, and Anne's going to talk to you about a few sections in our presentation.
Hi, I'm going to talk about first arriving on site for your interview. First impressions are critical, and people at a company, big or small, doesn't matter, do talk to each other. So as soon as you get out of the car, you should consider yourself to be on stage, so to speak. You're presenting yourself to the people that you might work with in the future, from the secretary or person that greets you at the door, all the way to the person that you're interviewing with, and back out to your car again. So it's very critical that you are always aware that you are, you should assume that you are being watched no matter what. So those first impressions are very important, and it is really important that you present yourself well. We're going to show you another video clip, and I want you to pay attention especially to the woman's body language. There's not really a lot that's being said in this as much as her body language and how she's presenting herself do speak volumes about how she feels towards this company.
Wow. T-shirt and jeans don't cut it for professional attire. You should have part of your job just like that. No. So what about Matt? Wow, is he married? Can't believe it. Yes. Hello, how can I help you? Welcome to the job. Can I help you? Yeah, I got a job interview at 9 a.m. Do you know who you're interviewing with? No, I don't know. I thought y'all had that information. I don't know. Some kind of analyst position or something. I'll try to find out for you. This is Smith. Billie Jean Smith. Okay, Miss Smith. Who's on seats?
So as you could see from that clip, that the woman's facial expressions, she did not look interested. She really was not smiling very much. The way she was speaking to the people, she didn't appear to be prepared. She didn't know who she was interviewing with. She didn't even know the position she was interviewing for in that video clip. As she was walking in, she was swinging her arms and her briefcase, and she did not present herself as someone that was confident, interested, and professional. So now we're going to move on to the in-person interview. So we'll be covering greeting, documents, and questions. One of the most important things that you will want to do when you are greeting someone is to give them a nice handshake. You do not want to squeeze their hand to death, nor do you want to provide them with a limp fingertip shake. Your handshake should exude confidence. It should exude strength. It is not only about the hands. You need to establish eye contact with the person that you're shaking their hand, and you want to smile and greet them. Your body language, your facial expressions, and your voice all represent you. They are all of the pieces that put together give that first impression that is so critical. Your vocal quality is important. You should speak clearly. You should speak loudly enough that the person can hear you without shouting. And you should speak at a pitch that is not too high, not too low, your normal, everyday pitch of your voice. This next video clip talks about handshakes specifically, and this is the next section of the video we saw earlier. And it will explain exactly the best way to shake someone's hand.
Don't give a limp. Nice to meet you.
do give a firm but not bone-crushing handshake. The key to a good handshake is to get the web between your thumb and forefinger fully in contact with that of the person with whom you're shaking hands. Also, don't forget to make eye contact and smile.
So again, you want the web of your hand to intersect with the web of the person whose hand you are shaking. This next video is all about the body language and how it can help you get that job that you are going for.
So often we make business contact by telephone, by email, through social media. It may be months or even years before we meet. When we do, we have a good first impression, but then our body language kicks in. Does it help us or hurt us? Christine Yockey is going to talk about that with us. I'm looking forward to meeting Deborah for the first time in person. And here are the things that I'll be looking for in terms of how I draw or form that initial impression. Number one, eye contact. Does she look at me directly? Two, what is the quality of voice? Does it sound inviting? No doubt we'll shake hands, so I'll be feeling for the firmness of her handshake. And then finally, what does she say? What is her opening message to me? Can't wait to meet Deborah. Well, I'm so glad that we could do this. I'd like to talk a little bit about the things that people do to help their case or hurt their case when they finally meet someone after making that connection by email, by phone, through social media. And when you and I spoke on the telephone, you mentioned that the voice is the one thing that carries people from the phone to person. So let's start with that, and how does what people do with their voices help them or hurt them? If there's any element of how we present ourselves that's overlooked by most people, it is the quality of your voice. But the starting point is knowing how you sound. Does your voice project confidence? Is the tone warm? Does it have resonance? Or on the other hand, could your voice etch glass? A common mistake, and it's not even so much a mistake, but it's more of just a function of nerves. If you are a junior person and maybe interviewing for a first job, it's not unexpected that you might speak more quickly. Your pace may be too quick. But to know that if you lower the tone of your voice a little bit, that literally adds more meaning to your words. A lower tone sounds more substantive, and what you're talking about sounds more important. So when you meet someone for the first time, I think the things that are really important are, number one, eye contact. So I was looking to see, would you look me in the eye? And you did. And that's a very positive signal. When you're talking about something that's really important to you, don't look away mid-sentence. But hold your eye contact until the end of the sentence or the end of the thought. What if we need a little break to look down at some point? When can we do that? Yeah, you could do it to blink. Not blinking is a little zombie-like. That will look a little odd to the person that you're talking to. So absolutely, you want good steady eye contact. What you don't want to do is the eyes up towards the ceiling, if the answers are hidden there. Shifty eyes back and forth, darting, which makes you look very nervous. Or constant up and down. So good steady eye contact. You know, you need to break away a little bit, and when you want to take a real pause, go ahead and look down, you know, in a substantive way. How about our hands? The first thing we did was shake hands. You're sending a signal with that handshake, and there's nothing worse than someone who grabs a hold of your hand and hangs on too long and pumps and pumps. Or I think worse, I think women are a little bit more guilty of that, the little finger clasp. Like a fish, not a cold fish at the work. Not good. And posture? What's the difference, and what should we be doing? Well, you want to have good posture just like your mother always told you to. The trick is to drop your shoulders back, and that will give you a nice presence. And then notice how I'm tilting forward from the little bit. This is a very interactive posture. I'm signaling to you that I'm engaged. I'm interested in what you have to say, and again, it's conversational. There's so much good information here. What's the one thing you would like people to take away from all of this? Good steady eye contact and good posture, and you'll create a great first impression.
That is one of the best videos I've seen related to body language and how important it is, and some very good tips on that for everyone on this webinar. So the next thing I want to talk about is your documents and your questions. So this is actually while you're interviewing. You want to make sure that, again, your documents are the most up-to-date. If you have any projects to present or any presentations that require the use of technology, you should plan to bring your own and test it before you get there to make sure that it's going to work. This will make sure that you won't run into technological problems on site. You don't want to have to be troubleshooting issues in the middle of an interview. You should ask ahead if you'll be interviewing with one person or more than one person, because the interviewing that you do with one person is very different than if you have multiple people to talk to. Your body language will need to change a little because you will need to maintain eye contact, steady eye contact, regular eye contact with multiple people. If you're interviewing for a position, for some kind of firm or something that has someone that has, you know, multiple people, again, make sure that you bring enough copies of your documents so that each person can have their own. When you are doing your presentation, this is another time where that upfront practice will really come in handy. You want to make sure that you are prepared, make sure that you have planned out your timing. You don't want to have your presentation be too long. You want to find out what expectations the interviewer has for you. And all of those things going into your interview will then help you when you actually interview. You will sound more confident, you will feel more confident. And if something does go wrong, you will be more able to deal with that to fix the problem instead of becoming very flustered. So we're going to move on to questions. Obviously, in an interview, you're going to be asked questions. It's very important that you know how to read the situation. The interviewer or the people that are interviewing you will have body language as well, and reading their body language can help you adjust your interview to them. So if their facial expressions are they're looking up at the ceiling or they're looking bored, if they're not looking engaged, then you would need to tailor what you're doing and what you're saying to them to pull them back into that interview and get their minds back to you, because you are trying to impress them to get that job. You also want to take a look, are they leaning back in their chair? Do they feel comfortable? Are they sitting up straight? Do they look engaged? All of those tells will help you when you're actually being interviewed. So again, you can tailor what you want to do and what you want to say. So we have another do's and don'ts clip. These are commonly asked questions and responses. So this is an example and do's and don'ts of reading that situation.
So tell me about yourself.
Well, I was born in San Francisco, and then my family moved to Boston. Well, actually the suburbs of Boston, about 20 minutes outside, but you know, you tell everyone Boston. And then I went to Penn in Pennsylvania, and I started out as an art history major, and then I switched to economics. But then I wasn't so sure, so I switched back to art history, and then I had to complete more credits to do the major. It was kind of a pain. So now I'm here with the possibility that I might apply to law school next fall.
This isn't a license to tell your life story. Rather, use this as an opportunity to give a concise summary of your career, abilities, and goals.
I'm a very energetic and organized person, which is why I'm drawn to opportunities such as this one. I have over 4 years experience at the associate level, and I'd like to further my career path. And I'm also fluent in French, and I've studied and lived in Paris.
Great. Interviewers want to know how you assess your good points and your bad points. What would you say is your greatest weakness or area that you can improve upon?
I have a tendency to oversleep. In the past, I've overslept and missed important meetings.
When discussing your weaknesses, avoid personality or character flaws. Instead, focus on areas that can be improved upon over time.
If someone isn't working hard enough, sometimes I end up picking up the slack. I'm working on just sticking to my own order of business.
So, are you married?
I'm single.
It's actually illegal for interviewers to ask you certain personal questions, such as your age and marital status, so you don't need to volunteer that information.
If you like, you can answer like this.
Let me ask you, are you planning to have a baby in the next few years?
I'd like to keep the focus on the job, not my personal life.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry to keep you waiting. Thanks for coming in today.
Nice to meet you.
Do you have a copy of your resume? Thanks.
Do you have a business card?
Yes.
Thank you.
So tell me about your last job.
Well, it was really interesting because there had a lot of different elements to it. And I had a lot of responsibility in the position. For example, oh, excuse me. Oh, hey, how are you? Fine, is that all right? Yeah, not too much. Okay. See you then. Bye. So as I was saying before.
If you forget and it goes off during the interview, apologize immediately and turn it off without checking who's calling or answering it. We hope these interview tips have been helpful. For more career advice, go to vault.com.
So that, again, is a really excellent example of what to do and what not to do, and summarizes most of what we've talked about so far. And now Melissa's going to take back over, and she's going to talk about wrapping up and leaving your interview.
Hi guys, I'm back. So, like Ann said, be sure to properly shake everyone's hand when you're leaving again. So you're shaking their hand when you arrive, and you're going to shake their hand when you leave, because you want to leave that impression in the beginning, and you want to leave that lasting impression in the end. Thank them for their time. You know, if you forget to ask when to expect to hear from them about the next phase of the interview process, or if they have made a decision, or when they make the decision, now would be the great time to ask them quickly, you know, when do I expect to hear back from you, or when could I expect to hear back from you about your decision. And in some cases, you will want to make sure you get their business card as well, so that you can have that information, and there'll be a key reason for needing that information coming up soon here during the follow-up, which Ann's going to cover here right now.
So following up after your interview, communication is the key. What you don't want to do is communicate that same day. You do not want to look desperate or bother the person that you interviewed with. There is a very good possibility they will have other people to interview. They may not have made a decision yet. You need to trust that they will get back to you when they've said that they will. It is appropriate to send a thank you note, email, some kind of follow-up thank you communication within 24 hours. So the next day, go ahead and send something out, just thanking them for the interview and saying that you're looking forward to hearing from them again. That helps keep you in their thoughts, especially if, as I said, they are interviewing other people. It is appropriate to follow up about the job if you have not heard from them in the time that they've said that they would get back to you. So if they say that they'll get to you in about 2 weeks, and 2 weeks passes and you haven't heard anything, then go ahead and give them a call or send them an email, follow up some way in person. Because then, again, they know that you are serious about the position, and whether they tell you that you've got the position or not, you should be respectful in your responses. If they say, I'm sorry, I've given this position to someone else, you can say, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to maybe interviewing you with you again in the future, because you never know, there may be another job in the company for which you might want to apply, or that person might recommend you for based on the interview that you've had. If your interview is very successful, you may not get the job that you originally interviewed for, but there is a chance that they will recommend you for something else. So it's always important, even if they tell you that you've not been hired for that job, that you leave the door open. Do not burn bridges. And timing is critical. Again, you do not want to send 5 emails or 5 notes or call every day, especially if you're getting the person's assistant that interviewed you. They will say, I heard from this person again. So you want to have the most positive impression on those on the people that are at that company as you possibly can.
And so I know we've covered a lot today. There's a lot. I mean, we kind of just skimmed over the surface. There's so much more that could really be applied to this, but we only have so much time, right, to share all this information with you. So instead of verbally reviewing everything that we covered here today, we thought we'd like to just wrap it all up with sharing this video with you that gives this really great side-by-side, good versus bad demonstration of all the key points we covered today in our presentation. And it's just all wrapped up into this nice one neat video. So I'm going to share this video with you, and then we're going to see about taking any questions that everyone might have.
Hi, Mr. Carson. Yes. Yeah, pleasure. Andrew Smith. Oh, you're Andrew Smith. Great. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Please, have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. Andrew, it certainly is a pleasure finally meeting you. We got a chance to take a look at the application, and I got to tell you, a very thorough job on the application, and that's what got you here today. Limited interview slots. And saw that and said, no, we want to find out more about this guy. One of the things on the application that we didn't really have to list there were references. Do you have something?
Yes. I took the liberty of not my my references, contact.
Thank you very much. This gives us a good picture into your professional qualifications. It's very good. You know, your job experience.
This is my resume. Yeah, my resume. Yeah, my resume.
This,
you know, my girlfriend was playing joke on me.
But before we begin talking about some of the nuts and bolts of day-to-day about your job, we'll get into that. I wanted to ask you if you had any other questions about the position or some of the things involved with the work that you might be doing.
Well, actually, I've done research about the company already. I understand that the company is very stable. It's been around since 1890. And I'm just curious about opportunities of growth within the company.
There's a lot of growth opportunity at Monolithic. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the fact that you can start at any position you want. If you like it, we're fine with you staying there, but if you want to grow with the company, plenty of room at the top. And I started in the very same position that you're applying for right now. There is room for growth. Let me ask you, before we get started on the day-to-day nuts and bolts of the position, do you have any questions about what you would be doing?
How much do I get paid? And how often do I get paid?
Well, as with anything, it's kind of early in the process to be talking about the salary right now. So Andrew, you're really familiar with the job qualifications that are required, the job description. But let me ask you this, looking over this, what are the qualities that you possess that would make you stand out in the position that you're applying for?
I'm organized. I work well with others. I'm a team player. I'm a self-starter, and I take initiative.
The fact that you're a self-starter, that's good. That works very well. So let's move on to a couple of given the job, the responsibilities
next performance goes. Just saw evidence of that. That's good. This was great meeting you, and it certainly is very thorough information. But before we go, were there any other questions that you had about your job? I was actually very eager to fill the position, and I was wondering when it is time to start.
I like that attitude. Here's what we're going to do. We've got a couple more meetings this afternoon. You'll probably be hearing from us sometime tomorrow. You can count on that. And we'll get in touch with you. We've got your contact information. We've got your references listed here. So we'll be in touch shortly. It certainly was a pleasure meeting. Thank you, Mr. Burns. And I guess one last thing before we wrap things. Did you have any other questions about Monolithic Bank?
When do I start?
And it's a little early to be talking about your job here.
Hi, John. Are you serious? Oh, thank you.
I didn't offer you the job. So as you can see, that kind of wraps up everything that Anna and I covered today, all in one nice, neat little video ball. And I guess at this point we could be open for taking some questions.
And
So
quite a few. Adriana wants to know, and I guess this goes back to the makeup thing. What if you have acne? How can you make it not look bad?
I would have to say that, they make a array of concealer and cover-up, but I think that you just want to do your very best. You obviously don't want to make your face look like you painted everything on there. I mean, everybody knows that everybody has their, I'm trying to think of a word to look for, but you're not going to look perfect because nobody's perfect. Just go in and do your best and show them how smart you are. And I think that that's the best way to approach it. My biggest thing about the makeup was just it's not a photo shoot where you want to wear a lot of fancy makeup and the pink and all of that and the glitter and stuff. You want to try and keep it conservative. That's really just the key point I was trying to share there with that makeup.
Okay, Isabel wants to know, when you send a thank you note, should it be handwritten and personal or typed in professional? Fabulous question.
Fabulous question. I'll let Anne share her thoughts on that.
That is a wonderful question. So I would say it depends, because if you have established a really good rapport, you felt really good about the interview, you were able to make a connection with the person who was interviewing, a handwritten note actually would be, they are rare these days, so sometimes they will work in your favor. If the company that you're interviewing for, the person that you're interviewing that interviewed you seemed much more by the book, professional, then it should be a typed note to that person. So I guess it's going to depend on the situation and the climate and of the person, the personality of the person that interviewed you. So you don't want to do the handwritten if it's a very professional atmosphere, and this is where reading that person will come in handy.
Great. Perlita wants to know, how do you handle, and this is a good one, because if you're nervous, everybody's nervous. That's why you're there. How do you lessen that?
I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it real quick, and then I'll let Anne share, because I think everybody kind of handles it a little bit differently. So for me, when I go into an interview, I try to hold my posture, and I put my hands on my lap, so my hands are like under the table, so you can't see my hands. But I sometimes twiddle my thumbs. So I take all my nervous energy and stick it into twiddling my thumbs. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but the interviewer can't see that, but it takes away some of that nervous energy that I have. So that's just a little trick that I do. I mean, everybody, I think, might have their own little trick, but I'll let Anne go ahead and share her thoughts on that. So
one of the ways not to be as nervous, again, preparation is easy. you go in knowing ahead of time that you've prepared, you've studied, you've done your research, that will go a long way to help calm some of the nerves. It's also important that, you know, try to think of something funny. I know it sounds silly, but if you try to think of something funny before you go in, break the tension yourself. Think about what you will do when you have this job, project, you know, positive thoughts. Go in thinking that you already have the job without having that, presenting yourself that way, but that can be a little mental trick as well. Especially if you're going to a situation where you have multiple people you're interviewing with, because that can be even more nerve-wracking. Just making sure that you're prepared for that up front can really go a long way.
Okay, Kaylee wants to know, what if you have a tendency to say or stutter when you're very nervous? Even if you practice not to say or stutter, you do it because it's part of your personality. Will the interviewer take that as a negative?
So, as you noticed that during this interview, during this presentation, I said and a few times, and I know I did, and then mentally was like saying, don't do that. So I'll be honest with you. I'm going to let Ann kind of give an answer to that, because I practice all the time to not do that. And I'll be honest, I'm not overly nervous right now, but for some reason, it just comes out of my mouth anyway. So maybe Ann might have something better to share with that question.
So we all have verbal tics. We definitely do. And sometimes just pausing while you're speaking and making sure that you have thought through what you want to say before you say it. When we have verbal tics, they're often to get us through while our brain is working. So if we say or something along those lines, you just want to pause and give your brain a second to catch up, or give your mouth a second to catch up to your brain, because forming the thought, especially when you're nervous, might take a little bit longer. So by giving yourself that pause, you won't come across as being, I guess, as nervous necessarily as if you consistently go, you know, so it will help with your presentation, how you come across. Just pause, stop. Just if you feel that starting, I tend to stick my tongue to the top of my mouth so that when I'm not speaking, I try not to have some of those tics.
That's great advice. Kayla wants to know, you mentioned the site that has reviews of companies from past and current employees. Can you name that again?
One of the sites is called Glassdoor. There are multiple ones out there, and that's just one example of a type of site that has that. So Glassdoor.
Tony wants to know, and this is getting back to that nervousness and issues with the body language. If you have an honest-to-goodness medical condition that may cause you to have some issues with body language, should you be honest up front and kind of mention that at the beginning of the interview, or just hope it doesn't show up?
Go ahead, Ann.
Okay, so I think the best thing to do is, if it's a serious tic, if you have something that you do and you know that you do, especially when you're nervous, I would tell the interviewer, say, I know that I'm going to do this, I'm nervous, this is how I am. It will help, you know, make you appear more human, I guess, in a way. The interviewers understand that you're nervous, if they're people that I would work for anyway. So it's best to, if it's something that serious and you know it's going to be very noticeable, I would say, you know, get it out in the open up front. It could act as a little icebreaker, actually, because helping your interviewer relax and helping yourself relax can only lead to a better interview.
And I'd just like to add to that, I think that letting them know, especially if it's a medical condition that you can't necessarily control, just letting them know up front, then they're not going to be as focused when you do it. So when you do it, it's going to click in their minds, hey, this person has this issue, so they're going to do it, so it's not a big deal. And they're not going to focus on that and what you're doing and why you're doing it. They're not going to be like, why is he still doing that? Or why is she doing it? They're going to know. And so that's going to answer that question, so they can just look past that and listen to what you're saying and not what your body's saying.
We are getting such great questions. This is another one about the thank you note. Michaela wants to know, should you mail it because it seems like that would take too long, or stop by to drop it off? And if you do drop it off, how should you go about that, and what would you say?
These are really, really good questions.
I told you that.
So,
great question.
No, I'm thrilled. I'm really thrilled. So a thank you note, if you mail it, it will generally get there the day after you mail it. So it would be still within about 48 hours of the interview. So that would be fine. Drop it in the mail. If you've interviewed with a place that's close enough that you could physically drop it off, that would also be an appropriate thing to do. What you would want to do is, since you would already have been in the building, if they have security, then you would drop it off with the person at the front desk and say, this is just a thank you note for an interview that I had yesterday with, and whoever's name should be on the envelope. So make sure that you have the note in an envelope and it's clearly labeled who it's to go to, so that when you drop it off, you can just drop it off with the people at the front desk, or with the person themselves very quickly to say, I just want to say thank you, and then, leave, depending on the circumstances and the company that you're dealing with.
The next question is something we had brought up in one of the previous sessions we had. If you're not a makeup person, is it okay, is it good to go to an interview without makeup at all, or will you be considered unprofessional even though you're wearing professional clothes?
I'm going to respond, and then I'll let Anne respond to that. I'm going to say, because I don't actually wear much makeup at all myself and haven't since I was young, the only thing I do when I go to an interview is I try to maybe use a little touch-up or concealer for any red blotchy spots, just to kind of make my face a little more even so it's not drawing the attention of the interviewer. But other than that, go as you are. Because if you get hired at that company, that's how you're going to go every day. So I'm just saying, you don't have to pile on makeup to make yourself represented professionally. But if you want to put a little bit on, that would be okay too. So those are my thoughts on it. Go ahead, Anne.
I agree. If you don't normally wear makeup, you don't want to wear a lot of makeup. And it's not unprofessional to not wear makeup. I know that I've been in interviews where I have not had any makeup on, and it's better to not wear makeup than to wear too much makeup. So if you're not used to wearing makeup and it might bother your skin or it might cause you to be uncomfortable, then I would say go without, because you want to be as confident and as comfortable as possible. So if you don't ever wear makeup and you're not sure how you would react to having makeup on in a stressful situation, I would say go without.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, we have Tony, getting back to the kind of what happens when you have a disability. I know myself, I have really bad feet and really horrendous arthritis, and I have been prescribed and told to wear sneakers, tennis shoes. I know they make shoes that are not tennis shoe looking, but when your podiatrist tells you can't wear them, what do you do when you go to an interview?
Go ahead,
Melissa,
Anne.
do you want me to handle this one?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a couple of things you can do. I mean, if you are, again, going to be very, very uncomfortable during an interview and you have a reason to wear the sneakers, then wear them, but explain it up front why you're wearing the sneakers. But the other side is that an interview is generally an hour, maybe. It doesn't take as long necessarily. And for much of the interview, you should be sitting down. depending on the position that you're applying for. So if you think that more comfortable dress shoes, you know, you don't need to wear heels, you don't need to wear, you know, fancy shoes. But if you could be comfortable sitting down for most of an hour in dressier shoes, then it would be appropriate to wear them to the interview. But again, your comfort, you need to be comfortable so you can be confident, but still look professional. So if you're dressed professional and the only thing that you're wearing are sneakers, then you can explain that up front, as it's the same thing with having a nervous tick.
I would just add that sometimes what happens for me is I'll bring an extra pair of shoes with me in my vehicle, so I can put on my dress shoes, go into the interview, and then when I leave the interview, put on my comfortable shoes again. So it's just a thought.
That's great. We're actually beyond our hour. Some people have already stepped out. And there's more questions, so I'm really bad. But people have already texted that they have to leave and things like that. So I do want to close out the session. If you have questions that were not answered because we ran out of time, hashtag Penn Foster, go up on the community, send them. In the last webinar I had, I made arrangements with the presenter to make sure anything that I see on the community will go to them, or I'll get it to them in some way. You could do the same thing. I'm on the community all the time. If you want to just put something on, we could definitely get at that. We have one more webinar coming up in about an hour, and that's called the soft skills, the skills you need to succeed. Very similar to kind of what we had, a little bit more on the body language and things that a lot of questions were about. But I have to say, Melissa, I truly got a lot of information, and from the questions, the students and the attendees, they're not all students, definitely also got a lot of information from you. In about an hour, those of you that have attended are going to get an email, and that email will contain a couple of things. It will contain a link to a survey, which we would truly love you to fill out, and maybe that would be when you would ask some of those questions that we didn't get to, because the presenters are going to see those surveys. So you're going to give them the feedback, and we could maybe get it way back to you. It'll also contain a link to your certificate of attendance. The link is not a live link, so you must copy and paste that link into your browser. And again, you can always go back on social media using hashtag PennFoster, or put back on the community. From the last session, I already saw in the community a couple of questions that I'm going to pass on to that presenter that did that last session. So people are using this, and this is a great way to do it. I'm going to end the presentation now, and I do want to thank again all of you for coming and spending part of it with it. And the presenters, fabulous job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.